Well, last night, Rob Poindexter introduced us to two law enforcement officers who talked about the reasons why the drug problem is getting worse in Maine.
Rob joins us now for part 2 of his series, Drugs in Maine. Rob?
Thanks, John. Tonight we focus on what authorities are doing to fight the problem and what you can do to help them clean up the drug problem in your town.
Each law enforcement agency has to do their part in order to disrupt and dismantle drug trafficking groups and organizations.
But authorities say they can't do it alone. They count on help from citizens to report suspicious activity. A tip in Washington County led to one of the biggest seizures of pot in Maine history.
Police don't work in a vacuum. They receive information. They depend upon the citizens who see something unusual to call them and alert them to it. And depending upon that level of information, may not be enough to initiate an investigation, or it may, or in combination with some other information that law enforcement has received, will be enough to initiate an investigation. And the result is you have in Washington County almost 3,000 marijuana plants eradicated.
The Maine Drug Enforcement Agency is even using some social networking sites, joining millions of people on Facebook. McKinney says it's been a useful tool.
It's going well. We receive tips through that. We also have our web page. We receive tips through that, as well as we have an 800 line. And all of those are anonymous if the person chooses to remain anonymous, in which we do receive information from all three of those sources.
Law enforcement officials say it takes a collaborative effort of all agencies in order to put a dent in the lucrative drug trade.
The drug problem is like a puzzle, and every law enforcement agency holds a piece of that puzzle. Here in central Maine, we're very fortunate to have so many agencies that work so well together, through task force, through Maine Drug Enforcement, through the National Drug Enforcement, and we're all able to bring pieces. Our burglaries, our robberies may be traced back to a more significant supplier. Drugs that are coming in from out of state, guns that are being stolen in Maine, traded in other states. So we all work together trying to provide the information so ultimately we can unravel this puzzle.
Everyone involved in fighting the drug problem in Maine agrees that educating young people in Maine is a key component to eradicating drugs.
Well, education will help be a piece of this fix, both at the level like we used to educate children about marijuana and other drugs. Well, today we talk about abuse of medicines that can lead to heroin addiction. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I want to take a needle and be a heroin addict, but they start down that road by a simple pill such as oxycodone.
And parents play a big role. It's just not the school's responsibility, but it's the parents to parent and guide their child as best they can to steer through these minefields. Because I just heard the statistic that if a person has not started using drugs by the age of 21, then they more than likely never will.
McKinney says recovery efforts are important too.
I've had on a number of occasions, and there'll be other officers tell you, they've arrested a person and they'll come back to you after they've served their time, been through the court system, and they'll come back and thank you. But for that intervention, they would see that their life was a dead end and they'd be dead.
If you suspect there might be drug activity in your town, call your local sheriff's department or the Maine Drug Enforcement Agency at 626-3850. You can also report tips to the MDEA on their Facebook page. To watch this series again, go to our website, wabi.tv, and click on Features. Back to you.